What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm talking about a show that, honestly, I didn't expect to hit me in the way that it did. But by the time I caught up through all 3 seasons so far, I realized something. This might be a top 5 television show of all time for me. Today, we're talking about Shrinking from Apple TV. And this isn't just going to be a quick review. We're going to deep dive. We're breaking down all 3 seasons quickly, that part is, but the evolution of the story, but most importantly, the characters, because this show lives and dies by its characters, and somehow it rarely ever misses. At its core, Shrinking is about grief, at least for the first 3 seasons. But what makes it special is that it refuses to stay in one lane. It's not just a drama, it's not just a comedy, it's not just a therapy show. It's all of it blended in a way that feels real. One minute you're laughing at something completely unhinged, and the next second you are literally bawling your eyes out. It really speaks to the writing of the show and how much range an entire season has, let alone just one scene. That balance, it only works because of the people we're spending time with. So, who are they? Let's start with Jimmy. Jason Segel gives what might be his best performance of his career here, and what makes it so powerful is how unfiltered it is. Jimmy is not a good TV dad at the start. He's broken, he's reckless, he's trying to outrun grief in the worst possible ways, partying, ignoring his daughter, completely abandoning any sense of responsibility. But the show never judges him, kind of like Derek. More on him later. It just watches him try, and that's what makes the arc across all 3 seasons so compelling. You're not watching a man magically fix himself in one episode. You're watching someone slowly, painfully learn how to show up again. By season 3, Jimmy isn't perfect, not even close, but he's present, and that feels like a victory. So what about Jimmy's daughter? Lucetta Maxwell plays Alice. Now, Alice might actually be the most important character of the entire show, because while everyone else is dealing with grief, she's the one who actually lost her mother, and the show never forgets that. Lucetta Maxwell delivers a performance that feels incredibly real, especially in how Alice processes everything. The anger, the detachment, the moments where she just wants her dad to be her dad again. Her relationship with Jimmy is the emotional backbone of the series, and watching that evolve from distance to resentment to slowly rebuilding trust, it's one of the most satisfying arcs across all 3 seasons. It's not rushed, it's clean, but it's honest. And also, I hope we get more chats on the park bench with her and Paul, of course paid by only the best candy in seasons to come. But on a real note, Gabby is the glue of this show. Jessica Williams brings so much warmth, humor, and emotional intelligence to this character. It's impossible not to love her. But what makes Gabby stand out is that she's not just the supportive friend. She has her own struggles, her own loneliness, her own complicated relationships, especially when it comes to boundaries with Jimmy, and then eventually trying to open up with her patients and Jimmying. Her arc across the seasons is about realizing that being there for everyone else doesn't mean sacrificing yourself, and the show gives her the space to be messy, to be selfish, to grow. She's not perfect, and that's exactly why she works. Now look, Liz is pure chaos, but she's purposeful chaos. At a first glance, she's like a comic relief, the nosy neighbor who inserts herself into everything. And honestly, during the first episodes, I thought she would be more of like the annoying neighbor and the worst character of the show. But over time, you realize Liz is dealing with her own identity crisis. Her kids are grown. Her role in life is shifting, and she's trying to figure out where she fits. Her relationship with Jimmy, her dynamic with her husband Derek, there's a lot going on beneath the surface, and Christa Miller plays that balance perfectly. She's hilarious, but she's also quietly one of the most human characters on the show, even if she's crazy. Speaking of Liz and her husband, we can't talk about the show without talking about my guy Derek. Ted McGinley plays Derek as this incredibly grounded, emotionally secure presence. And in this show filled with chaos and so much emotional instability, that stands out immediately. Derek could have easily been a background character, the nice husband who just exists, but instead he becomes one of the most important pieces of the entire ensemble. And I know I might say that a couple times. Because Derek, though, he represents something rare in the show: stability. He's supportive without being overbearing. He's present without needing attention. He doesn't judge people just to judge them. He understands Liz in a way that feels earned, not forced. As the seasons go on, you start to appreciate just how much that is, not just for Liz, but for the entire tone of the television show. He grounds it. He reminds you what healthy love can look like, even when everything feels messy. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, there's Brian. Michael Urie brings an energy to the show that is completely different from everyone else, and it works perfectly. Brian starts off with his fast-talking, high-energy, slightly chaotic presence, and honestly kind of stays like that, but just like every character in Shrinking, there's more beneath the surface. His journey across 3 seasons is about figuring out who he is in a more grounded and committed way, especially when it comes to his relationship with Charlie, and of course, eventually, their kid. You can watch him wrestle with commitment, with vulnerability, with what it means to actually build a life with someone, and the show lets the growth happen naturally. It doesn't rush it, it doesn't simplify it. By season 3, Brian is still funny, still chaotic, but he's also more self-aware, more emotionally present, and that evolution makes him a satisfying character to watch. Sean's arc is a very needed one. A veteran dealing with PTSD and anger and maybe lost direction, he starts off guarded, explosive, and unsure of where he belongs. But instead of giving him a quick fix, the show takes its time. We watch Sean earn his growth, his relationship with Jimmy, his friendships, his sense of purpose. It all builds naturally over time. The ability of this character to grow and build more relationships with characters like Paul and Derek shows how far he truly has come. By season 3, Luke Tenney's Sean, he's still working through his things, but he's stronger and more grounded, and it feels well deserved. But of course, you cannot talk about Shrinking without talking about our main star. Harrison Ford is unreal in this show, and I don't say that lightly. This could have been written as one of those one-note, grumpy old therapist roles, but instead it becomes one of the most layered characters in the entire series. Paul is dealing with Parkinson's, aging, control, vulnerability, and yet he still carries himself with this dry, almost brutal honesty that makes every scene better. But what really elevates him is his relationship with Jimmy. Look, we pick up with these two characters in very different spots, but over time, it turns into something much deeper. There's respect, frustration, care, everything that you'd expect from a real, complicated relationship. Oh, and there's some fights along the way. And then you start to see Paul slowly open up, not just as a therapist, but as a human being. It's subtle, it's quiet, but it really hits hard. And to be clear, I am a massive Harrison Ford fan. He is the whole reason I press play on this show in the first place. And he is a lot of the reasons where I've been crying, laughing in a scene, and then crying in a scene. A lot of takes I see online are about how surprisingly good his acting is in this show, and I think that is an incredible disservice to Harrison Ford. Paul fits Harrison Ford perfectly as a gruff, grumpy guy, and while it may be true that he connects more deeply to this character and this role, I don't agree with the idea that he has lost a step over recent years. But here for Shrinking, I'd be doing this show a disservice if I didn't talk about the amazing guest stars. You've got Wendy Malick, Neil Flynn, Colby Smulders, Candice Bergen, Michael J. Fox, and Jeff Daniels, just to name a few. I could go on, and who knows, maybe if this video does well, we'll go in-depth with every character or even rank them. But I do have to give all the love to Michael J. Fox, and I also want to talk briefly about Jeff Daniels' character. His character is truly the only one in the entire series where, for me, it is really hard to defend. He is just kind of a jerk, and who knows, maybe he will mature, or we'll see him in a different light as seasons go on, but as of right now, he's the only one I can't stand. Look, season 1 is all about the concept. Of course, Jimmy starts jimmying, telling patients exactly what he thinks, getting involved in their lives. It's messy, it's risky, but it works because it comes from a place of desperation. This season is about disruption. Everyone is stuck, and Jimmy forces change, whether it's the right way or not. Season 2 slows things down, I think, in the best way possible. Now, we're dealing with the consequences of those actions. Relationships get deeper. Conflicts feel heavier. This is where the show really adds more of that emotional rhythm. It's less about the big moments and more about the small, meaningful ones leading up to it. And by season 3, the show feels fully realized. The characters understand themselves more. The relationships are richer. This season is about acceptance. Not everything gets fixed. Not everything gets wrapped up neatly. But people move forward, and that's the point. I also know this isn't a perfect show. The biggest complaint I see about Shrinking is all the boundary violations Jimmying causes and how they would probably all be fired at some point. Look, it is very fair argument, and if that is your issue with the show, I completely respect it. It's your issues, but for me personally, to put it bluntly,
we do not care.
Side note, while researching what people didn't like about this show, I found this Reddit thread, which was kind of funny. Everyone can have their own opinions again, but the top comment really did make me laugh out loud.
Eat a dick, Pam.
Look, what are my final thoughts? Shrinking is one of those rare shows that just get it. It understands grief, it understands people, it understands that growth isn't linear and healing isn't clean. But more than anything, it understands connection. Every character feels like someone you know. Every relationship feels lived in. And by the time you finish all 3 seasons, you don't just feel like you watched a great show. You feel like you spent time with real people. By the way, all people I would love to have a pool party with. Well, except for Jimmy's dad. So for me, this is a top 5 show of all time. No question about it. One day, we will hone down that list and actually rank the top 5 television shows in my opinion. But that's just my take. What did you think of Shrinking? Where does it rank for you? Do you love it? Or do you hate it? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and now that you've got some time, you can go refill that popcorn bucket. Oh yeah, and fuck Parkinson's.